This is Boxing Media Hub. This is HardTalk USA. Yes, and welcome to HardTalk USA with Boxing Media Hub. This program is proudly sponsored by Falcon Contracting and Mr. Jam's Boxing Chat, indeed himself. Welcome, gentlemen. This is HardTalk USA, episode 21, and we'll be going through the events of last night and the Ring Magazine Awards. We'll be doing the PBC card on February the 1st, but we're hoping to get our good friend Mr. Evans Tobler in once again for his input on certain matters. But gentlemen, you saw the Ring Magazine Awards last night. I'll come to you, Brett, first, our Canadian Brett, I would like to say. You saw the Ring Magazine Awards last night. First and foremost, what did you think of the production value?
So to be honest, mate, I was following it because I was the time difference. It don't work. Sometimes don't work, and I've got that on my back burner tonight to sit down and actually watch the 3-hour show. I know who's won what because I was following it as they were winning.
Yeah,
I haven't had a chance to sit down, mate, and watch it from start to finish yet.
Right, Håkan, I'll bring the same question to you from a Swedish point of view. And welcome to the show, Håkan, ringside live, all the way from Sweden on HardTalk USA tonight. You obviously did watch all the things. I've seen your tweets and that. What did you think of the awards and its production? And it's the Ballon d'Or, as they say, of boxing.
Yeah, I watched some of it, but I watched the Boxer show at the same time then. So, but I watched some of that of the Ring Awards show, and I think it was good. And I know all the winners on all categories.
Great stuff. Remy from America, Remy's Corner Talks on Twitter. Great spaces, gets some really, really high-profile guests. Welcome to the show, HardTalk USA, mate. How you doing?
How you doing, brother? Appreciate that intro. I thought the awards were really dope, and I really appreciate that for the fighters specifically because I feel like it's about time boxing kind of catches up with the things going on now, and I feel like the award shows is a way to highlight the fighters and kind of like let people know, like, okay, boxers are doing well too. These are the guys that you should be looking out for. This is, recapping the events of the year. I thought Turkey did a great job with the production. Everything looked high quality. They look, just seeing the fighters in the suits, it was really cool.
Yes. I mean, anyone who probably was there, but it's a shame Tank couldn't get over. That would have just made and Inoue, of course, that would have made it complete. Tyson Fury didn't turn up, which was strange. But overall, I thought it was a really, really good, well put together, well run event last night for the Ring Magazine Awards. Håkan, will come to you in a minute about the first, category on that. But I just want to highlight just how much the boxers appreciated that. They're, all together, suited and booted, some really weird and wonderful outfits there last night. Teofimo Lopez. And I'll come to you, Remy, just before I go to Håkan on that. You've been a big advocate of Devin Haney, and quite rightly so. He's taken a lot of stick over the last year or so, even before Ryan Garcia, I seem to remember. Since that no contest with Ryan Garcia, he's come back now. Bill's been on a great charm offensive. He's embraced the new media, us guys, and all that, and come on spaces and gone on interviews. He's come to the UK, and it's really worked well for him and Bill Haney, because the UK guys have just taken to him like, it was one of their own.
I feel like in general, and Rico actually made a tweet that got a lot of traction, pointing out some things. You know, me and you and him have discussed privately regarding how Americans are about some of our fighters. I think some of the guys get kind of lost in the shuffle, and a lot of fan bases get split apart because they feel like, okay, you know, we got so much talent here. It's been so many American champions for years. They don't really appreciate the sport at all, let alone the champions and the young guys we have that are pretty much our next generation. So with Devin going to the UK, I think it showed, one, that everybody doesn't live in this weird bubble where you're a so-called fight fan, a boxing fan, and then you like kind of vilify a fighter for putting himself in position to lose, with the fact that Ryan, you know, weighed more, and then this, you know, how everything played out. It would have been great for boxing to just see an upset. I'm not opposed to seeing an upset in boxing. It's great when a guy you thought was going to lose, if Ryan's story had just been him prevailing all the odds, it would have been cool, you know, but, you know, he did everything he did. And to see the American fans pretty much turn their back on him, it happened, you know, really more so after the Ryan Garcia fight, but there always were kind of like all the fan bases against Devin Haney per se, with Tank being a more popular fighter, Ryan Garcia being a more popular fighter. I think that to see you guys embrace him is good, because for him too, because it's just like he gets to see like, okay, I'm not in this, you know, just this bubble in America, and people who just truly care about boxing, they have a unfiltered, you know, view of the sport. They care. They're showing appreciation for what he does in the ring, and I think all fighters deserve to feel that way.
I think it was a genius move by Bill, that just showing a little bit of vulnerability, putting Devin in front of the UK fans, and then, like you say, Mr. Neutral, like he's been so open to interviews, to talk, and has been completely open. Obviously, Rico's a boy of mine. He's opened his arms to Rico, and it's just nice to see, because I honestly, you know, we're all fans of who we like with boxing, but with young fighters, I really don't understand the hate that some of them get for what, just playing their trade, you know, whatever, the court battles and stuff like that. You probably we all disagree with that, because we want to see him do it in the ring. But at the end of the day, he's a young fighter that's a very, very talented fighter, and he gets way too much hate for me.
Yeah, it is weird. Håkan, you know, coming to you now, how do Europeans see what goes on in you know, in the US, and then the hatred that some boxers get from certain sides of, whether it's the country, you know, Tank's on the East Coast, I believe Devin's on the West Coast. I don't know if that brings it into play, this demographic of hate, but is it weird to Europeans, this lack of patriotism towards their own?
Yeah, for me it is, and I'm very surprised that the report and other stuff that comes out from the US against some of the fighters.
Yeah, thank you, mate. I just want to go to the comments before we move on. Jam said, I love the show, but the speeches were long at times. Also, why was Conor Ben hosting an award? We'll get to that in a minute. Last Bell Boxing says, good evening, gents. Thank you. Good evening there, Last Bell. Conor Ben will have to raise his profile to fight Garcia. Surely, ? Conor Ben is not known in the US. That is a good point. Not known widely. He's infamous for the wrong reasons. Jam says, I agree, Last Bell. So going on to that point, Remy, if I may come to you next, about that Conor Ben, Ryan Garcia, do you think that was a bit of a smudge on the awards, having two high-profile dope cheats at the awards, presenting awards, no less, you know, not just being there, but, you know, presenting awards? Do you think that was a wise idea?
Yeah, I think it was okay. I think now things like that can be perceived two different ways, but I personally believe it just adds a possible buildup for something to come down the line. You know, with boxing, it's not it's not a bad thing for two guys that don't like each other to end up in the same place, as opposed to, you might get a Larry Holmes, Trevor Burbick moment out of it. You never know, and that could all lead to big money in the pay-per-view. So I think that actually adds to the hoopla.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people, obviously, on Twitter, quite miffed about the fact that two drug cheats should be rewarded with high-profile fights. That's another story. Well, if I come
I
to
think
you,
that
Brett,
kind of happened. Neutral. Bro. I honestly, I'm kind of over that, because you got situations like with Rayo Valenzuela and Gary Russell. Like, to me, we were talking about that in the group chat. To me, that type of stuff is weird, right? Where you just lost and now you're fighting for another belt again. It's almost like your promoter was like, try, have at it again. Like, you didn't get him this time. Here, have another go at it. Like, you should not be fighting for a belt in your next fight, but somehow, some way, the losing gets you title shots nowadays.
Yes, absolutely. If we go to the chat again, last belt boxing, Eddie Hearn is desperate to get Conor Benn in front of the camera to rebuild his profile and move on from the whole drug issue. It's a fair point, because now that Conor Benn has actually been cleared to fight again and invited to apply for his British boxing license, I suppose it's prudent for Eddie to start to put him on the front line, of the media. But he's not going to get many fans in that. And I get the feeling there's going to be a lot of fans, Brett, that are going to want to see Conor lose.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously that tag is the villain is going to be on his back now. Where he was the nation's sweetheart, and we were all planning his hopes on having a smudge of his dad's career, just so we could get behind him. I kind of agree with Remy though. I'm sort of over it, if I'm being honest. I get why Turkey's done that. Turkey's trying to do the same thing. Turkey's just trying to say, look, I've got these lads. We're moving on. We're gonna push them into big fights. Everybody else just get on with it, because very often get into debates with people that Tyson Fury was forgiven very easily. Canelo was forgiven very easily. Everybody's been forgiven very easily. I get it that Conor's not took responsibility, and that's really, really upset people. But the bottom line is, if he's cleared to fight now, he's obviously going to be one of the most drug-tested athletes in the whole of sports moving forward. But let's let him fight. And with the Garcia thing, he's just doing his thing, isn't he? I mean, the reality is that Turkey can see the commercial value in both of them. The Brits will watch Conor whether they want him to win or lose, and the world will watch Ryan Garcia. So.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Villains and heroes always get watched, no matter what. Right, but let's move on. Let's have a look at it. With AJ now being shot to pieces, says Carl, and yes, you are the good-looking one, sir, and the talented one here. With AJ now being shot to pieces, Ben is the golden boy of Matchroom now. Sorry, Brett, AJ's biggest fanboy. That's a hellacious allegation there, Brett. We should just ignore that banter and move on. Hakan, can you please give us the first category that was the Ring Magazine Awards last night?
I don't remember the actual.
Maybe that I was going to give that to Brett.
I've got it in front of me, but
Let's hear it.
I don't know the order, but
doesn't matter. We know who won.
We start at the top.
Give us the winner.
Fire of the year, obviously. Alexander Usyk was the 2024 Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year, and I don't think anybody can really argue with that, can they? Is that up for debate?
Remy?
I don't think the male or female Fighter of the Year is up for debate whatsoever. Yeah. I think that they nailed it. If anybody were to get it outside of Alexander Usyk, I think I missed that whole segment of when that happened this year. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know who did anything to trump those two victories over Tyson Fury. And me personally, I love Alexander Usyk for doing that. I couldn't wait till he beat Fury because I knew he would. I loved every second of it. And I thought it was great. I thought it was a great call. Great shot.
How close And I have to agree with the comments here. How close was the Beterbiev-Bivol fight to that?
For fight of the year?
Yes.
Obviously, for fight of the year, they went with Ray Ford, his 12th round knockout. But in terms of spectacle, if we're talking absolute spectacle, you've got an edge towards Beterbiev and Bivol. Like we as boxing fans, as purists, were just on the edge of our seat, couldn't wait to watch that one, and can't wait to watch the second one either. So
yeah,
you know, there's a debate for that for sure. But I think obviously they've gone down the route of the spectacle of Ray Ford not doing so well, and then boom, lights out. So
to make things easier, actually, Brett, give me, in your opinion, the awards that you did not agree with.
Going through them, to be honest with you, there's not many that I didn't agree with. I mean, obviously that one's for sure up for debate in terms of who you thought the fight of the year was. But then let's come to the knockout of the year. As Carl rightly pointed out there, I'm a big supporter of AJ's, but you probably couldn't deny the knockout of the year in the magnitude of 96,000 or whatever the tag was in front of Wembley, that little short check hook that put AJ completely out. I mean, I definitely, as painful as it is, I definitely agree with that one.
Yeah, and poor AJ had to probably watch
it over and over again.
Three or four nominated, of that. Must have been hellacious for him, but he took it like a man. It's a shame.
That's why they say that. That's why they say it. That's why the rumors are that Tyson never turned up, because of how many awards that Usyk was going to win.
Yes, some will say that, and with good reason. I do believe.
I didn't agree with Daniel Dubois getting knockout of the year. I'll be honest. I didn't agree with that.
Who do you think you should have gone to, Remy?
Yeah. I like with the knockout over AJ. And it's not to diminish AJ, and it was a good knockout, right? But there were literally better knockouts with equal significance. I don't feel like the upset value of Daniel Dubois over AJ goes over Sirachi over Munguia. And I know that got upset of the year, but I feel like that should have been knockout of the year, or Angelo Leo over Bernardo Lopez. I feel like those were better choices for those categories. And when it came to fight of the year, I don't agree with Ray Ford and Komatov winning. I also thought Beterbiev and Bivol should have won that category.
Very good. Very good points. Going back to the chat very quickly, gentlemen. We got Sir Chat, a lot of boxing. Good evening, chaps. Good evening, Darren. Sir Chat, a lot of boxing. Another great UK account there. Go and check him out on YouTube. So chat a lot. Like and subscribe, obviously, to Boxing Media Hub. All the views out there in Twitter land, YouTube land, and etc. etc. Jam's boxing chat for me. Knockout of the year was Lucas Bardi versus Austin Silva. Angelo Leo second. The DDD third. Last bell boxing. I watched the Dubois knockout with a sock in my hand. Sick man. So Charlo boxing back again. Knockout of the year, definitely Dubois on AJ. The way Dubois was hot, he kept his composure to land the knockout. That's a good point. Moving on to the next category that probably I found a bit suspicious was Trainer of the Year.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
I thought Yuri Chichenko being absent from the nominations list was pretty much a kick in the teeth compared to, especially as Usyk had got Fighter of the Year. It just didn't seem, especially with his success with his other boxers. Bochuk, I believe, this one, but I think because a couple of them took a couple of losses, that may have swayed them, but not to be nominated is pretty weird. And one from my end of neck of the woods, Paul Stevenson from the Everton Red Triangle gym. Fabulous year 2024, 18 straight wins in his stable, including Nick Ball, 2 defences. Incredible. But some of them weren't nominated. But I get Robert Garcia being labelled the winner. He's done a good job. It was Robert Garcia that got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you got a thought, Remy? Have you got any issue with Trainer of the Year?
That's the one category I did not see the nominees for. That's literally the only one I.
Right. I think the nominees were Robert Garcia, Don
Wait, was Bob
Charles.
Santos one of them?
No. I think it's Hernandez. Do you know? I can't remember any of the others. This is
But no, that's
totally weird.
definitely crazy.
But
Usos,
it was
trainers, and
definitely one that should have had. It should have had at least a couple up there that should have been nominated at least. But nonetheless, a great award show. Did enjoy it overall. Although you have to go back and watch it for 3 hours, that's quite an ask. And plenty of skipping in between. But you know, all the stars were there. Canelo was there. Now, do you agree, guys, that deals and all the rest of it have been done? That was like a convention of deals to be done there last night.
yeah, I think a lot of business got done. I think, and what I wanted to touch on too, Nutri, you just made me think about something. Two things. One, I noticed that there weren't many PBC affiliated fighters there. I just wondered what y'all thought of that. I didn't see many PBC affiliated fighters there outside of Canelo. If you guys did, maybe you could refresh me. But also that, and I think that just the awards happen in general, and you've seen those connections being made, those pictures being taken. Canelo and Turkey together came of this, and I you know, this could be big, y'all. This could be very, very big. Canelo and Bud Crawford might be, you know, and we know that's the fight Turkey wants to make. That's what really got me going. I'm like, oh my God, is this possible now?
Remy, if you saw some of the interviews after, well, obviously during, but some of those fighters had a big smile on their face after having their 5 minutes with Turkey. So I'm absolutely, there was some cocky fighters there that knew some big things were about to happen to them. And it's almost like there was a probably in my brain, I've got it that they're all lining up one by one to knock on the door to go and sit and have 5 minutes with Turkey, you know. But,
yeah, like on The Godfather, like.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it is in my head, Remy. That's how it is. But yeah, I believe that we're going to see some monstrous fights in 2025.
Billy Nelson was absolutely buzzing when he was tweeting there early before that, just to prove that point that he had a meeting and Martin Bacoli's path has been laid by Turkey. So happy days for everyone there last night. And I think that's why it's so important. And Remy, I'll get back to your point about PBC in a minute. That's why it's so important for all of these promoters and boxers alike to have this sort of gathering once a year, not only to give awards out to you know, the most deserving people in boxing, but it's to make these kind of events that matches get made instead of talked about. And we've got to actually, you know, if there's any detractors left of Turkey al-Sheikh, then they should be ashamed of themselves, because what he's not only done in the ring, it's what he's doing outside the ring. It's just wonderful, because now we're going to get a stacked 2025/2026 because of the man's vision and GEA, of course. And especially off season now with the purchase of Ring Magazine UK, you know, and US, he'll be doing promotions over here. It's just going to add to the calendar. Now, going back to PBC, Remy, sorry, Brett, real quick. Going back to PBC, very strange that the representation from them was, you know, apparent, a lack of it. Do you feel that the hand hasn't been extended to PBC yet, or is it the other way around? PBC want nothing to do with them.
I think there's a bit of independence trying to be exercised in the situation. I think PBC believes that they could kind of stand alone, given they have guys like Tank and Canelo fighting on their platform as of recent. So with Canelo going to the Ring Awards, I think that kind of it gives me a side eye to that, because I'm wondering if Canelo, if the other foot drops, would that mean that Tank would eventually be working with Turkey? But what it looks like from what Tank says, he keeps basically saying that everybody has to go to Turkey for money, essentially. So I think that that hand hasn't been extended fully. TGB has worked with them, but I don't think they have any deals in place for their fighters to work with them. And I have heard that some of PBC's stable, that the guys they were still bringing up, they're fighting on Pro Box cards. That's why you see guys like Jared Hurd fighting on those cards, guys like Langeletti, some guys that you've seen under the PBC banner, they're fighting under with Pro Box. Basically, while PBC is going through the transitional phase of figuring out how to bring those guys up into their new deals. And with all the dates, the dates are a little scarce. We'll just be honest here, the dates are a little scarce. So I'm wondering, how that's going to play out for certain fighters, like guys like David Benavidez, who could be he'd benefit from fighting on Turkey's cards, and maybe guys in the heavyweight divisions and around like 130 and 135, they would definitely, and 140 would definitely benefit from signing with Turkey. So I don't know. I think that's kind of glaring. And also some of the dates were leaked. I don't know if you heard about that. They accidentally leaked some of those dates. So I'm kind of wondering how that's going. Maybe it's some like Cold War going on behind the scenes.
Could well be. I mean, Brett, you're in Canada. What are you hearing? What do you see?
Well, the one thing I'll go back to is the Turkey thing, and any hate that he's getting right now is just the bandwagon of idiots just saying he's ruining boxing. Well, look, we as fight fans, we've been sick of promoters over the years stopping us from see things, and then regardless of how we feel about it, the big names like Tank, or other fighters of a magnitude will find their way to Turkey at some point. And the reason being is because the bottom line is we forget, because we're fans, but they're prize fighters. It's make the most money, as much money as they can, right? Try and stay safe and get out and live the rest of their life on a yacht or a beach somewhere. And the bottom line is the money that Turkey's offering them, they can't turn it down. And I'll say this about Turkey. He wants to see the fights that we want to see. That's the thing. He wants any fight that we can sit here now and chop up. Turkey wants that as well. And
true.
He just goes out and says, you know what, I'll go make it. Get out of the way, Eddie. Get out of the way, Eddie. Get out of the way. I'm going to go make this fight.
That's very true, because he did put a tweet out some months ago that I was very intrigued by, where he's asking fans, what fights do you want to see?
Yeah.
And that just proves to me, he's linked in with what the fans want. Incredible stuff. Let me go through a couple of these chat, please, guys. Here we go. People forget Wardley versus Clark, said Jam's Boxing Chat. Good point, Jam, said last bell. Evan Red Triangle got overlooked a bit. Of course they did. Roberto Garcia, Andy Lamar, Ramsey, Don Charles, Santos, Rudy Hernandez. Yep. Big up the panel, EFC always. Big up to you. Thank you for coming through. Hit the likes. That's right. What weight does Canelo Crawford happen? Right. Very quickly on that. Canelo doesn't have to come in at 168. Right. He can come in at 161. So a lot of people are just maybe a wee bit too, harsh on Canelo. On Crawford and about his weight, targets here. He doesn't have to go to 168. Go to 161. That's super middleweight. Coming back there, as Jam says, surely 168. You think? What about Ben missing his first boxer show to attend the awards? Not a good look? Question mark. This is an interesting question, considering what we were talking about, deals being done. Did Ben Shalom do deal making over attending his own show? And I'll come to you, Håkan.
Yeah, regarding Boxer, Ben Shalom seems not to have like Matchroom and Queensborough have like Matchroom has Frank Smith, and so they could, and Queensborough had George, and they could be at separate shows, and like Matchroom have on the January 25th, both shows in Nottingham and Vegas. But I don't see Boxer has a second man who could promote their fighters at the show. So that's an issue for me for Boxer when Ben Shalom chose to be at the Ring Magazine Awards and not to be at his own show. It's the second one with Callum Simpson in a row now that he's not on the show. It was the same at the Barnsley show in the summer.
Brett, is there a risk that some of his boxers, as Hawkins just quite rightly said, Callum Simpson's been sort of snubbed for 2 events running by Ben Shalom? Is there going to be anything going on in some boxers' minds, or are they just going to accept that Ben has to make a choice in these things?
I suppose it depends who you are, mate. If you're one of the low small hall show fighters, you're probably pissed. If you're one of the big names and he's gone there to get you a big deal, then that's a different argument. All I will say with Ben is he's obviously, he's struggled like crazy, hasn't he, to try and get in there with Turkey, and he's he's done all his dough on the likes of Akoli and Boazzi and people like that, and it's not really gone too well for him. So he's probably the greed aspect of, I cannot miss this event to get in front of Turkey, to be around all those fighters, and to try and make some deals for my company and make some money for myself. But the bottom line is, if you're a fighter and he's stable, and you are looking over your shoulder going, that's my promoter that's just snubbed one of our guys. You are thinking that, for sure you are.
Yeah. Remy, if you just heard what Brett says there, what's your take on that?
I think it's a bad look, but I'm not going to lie, it's kind of funny at the same time, because like, based on the things that Ben does, this is kind of lines up with his character a bit. Like, of course he'd do something like that. And also, at the same time, it is a smart money move for him, because let's be honest here, like, as much as I've liked Turkey, getting fighters fights and getting them big paydays, I also like how he's making these promoters fucking grovel. It's funny. Yeah. It's really funny to see. And he's making them, he's making them shake a little ass. I'm not going to lie. And when we say that in America, we mean, you're coming humbly, as opposed to how you're usually coming from a standpoint of authority.
Yeah.
And
like a dog wagging its tail real quick as it comes up to you, submissive.
Exactly. We've seen Eddie, we've seen Frank, we've seen Bob Arum, we've even seen Al Heyman, we've seen all these guys pick up all their marbles and go home when they got the A-side fighter. And I always thought it was something that, certain fan bases, or they're fans of certain fighters or certain promotional companies, they get lost in the sauce about it. It's like all of these guys do that. Turkey is killing that shit. Like, Turkey's making it to where they cannot do that anymore. You cannot pick up your ball and not play because you're trying to get your fighter all the advantages. Nope, the money's there for everyone. Now fight.
No excuses, no excuses. I mean, as I say, all in all, it was a fantastic event. It's going to as I said before, the matchups that we're going to get out of this is going to be incredible. Canelo Crawford, maybe. Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. Another villain that was at the award show, arc villain, Teofimo Lopez. Looking like Gaff from Blade Runner, the Spanish copper. You remember him when they do the origami?
I was thinking Benny Blanco from Carlitos, right?
Yes.
That's a great shout.
He's attracted the attention for the wrong reasons. But what do we know about his, let's say, his side of the contract with Top Rank? Is he trying to run it out, or force them to write him off so he can then join either Matchroom or Queensberry or someone very close, Golden Boy, to Tucker Al-Sheikh. Brett, what do you think?
I think straight away it came to me there. It's like football player, soccer player, going to training and messing the coach's sessions up just to get a move away. I think that's what he's doing. He's absolutely trying to force his way out, and bend people's hands, because you look at him last night. Again, he's another one for me. He was very lively at that event last night. The interviews that I've seen, he was quite cordial. He was happy to give everybody a piece of his time. So he's a happy fighter. So he must know something, obviously, that we don't know. He must know something's coming. He was proudly walking around with his Ring Magazine belt on his shoulder. I expect some big news is coming his way very, very shortly. To be honest, just for his demeanor last night, unless it was just a big sales job.
Yeah, absolutely. There was talk about actually being Haney next for Teal, so interesting one to see come. Yeah, Hakan. How does Teal look to you in all of this?
I'm just concerned about the Top Rank right now. They have announced one show, and their deal with ESPN, and will they join DAZN? Some rumors of that some shows could end up on DAZN, and that's what I think is maybe the reason why there aren't so many Top Rank shows announced for the early part of the year.
I heard the story on Twitter that ESPN may not be right out of it as we know it. There could be another deal in place that cover the PPV side of Top Rank in the future. Remy, do you know anything about that? This is where I was hoping Matt would come through.
That's what I've been hearing for the better part of a year now. That I was initially hearing that Top Rank. ESPN basically was saying like Top Rank had to bring them better shows. They wanted bigger fights. They wanted bigger names. That's why Top Rank was so adamant about trying to keep Devin Haney and keep Shakur Stevenson at one point, because they want some sort of pieces of the possible 130, 140, 147 matrix. They already had Teofimo there, so they would have been in play for a Gervonta Davis fight in multiple different ways. I think Bob likes to do that. He likes to keep adversaries or, like the cash cow of a division, usually between the glamour weights, somewhere around heavyweight, maybe 147, 140-ish, and, get a couple smaller fighters. He likes to keep, a good stable of guys to make sure he has matchups. And I think going to the zone, that would be a smart move for them, simply because if ESPN isn't willing to give them the budget they've been given, I heard it was around $90 million, somewhere around that, north south around that number though. So if they are looking to get bigger fights, I'm being quite honest, that budget probably isn't going to be enough. So they would probably need to go somewhere and they may be in a performance-based situation. So I think they're leaning towards the zone, to be honest, because they usually have a lot of dates ready for us. The time period is winding down. I think they have the option. ESPN has the option to renew in about August or July, one of them. So I don't think they're gonna stay. I don't know.
Very, very possible they won't, Remy. Right, let's moving on to another subject now. We got, we had last week Jai Opataya in his Australia card, won very convincingly against the late replacement David Naika. Brutal knockout. He's now looking to unify against Sergio Ramirez. That's what he wants next. Just very quickly, is that likely? I'll come to you, Hakan, first. Are we likely to see a unification in 2025, Sergio Ramirez and Jai Opataya?
it's likely, but not next.
Not next.
So Ramirez is set to fight Junior Dorticos, the mandatory. Dorticos
yes.
has taken step aside once, but I don't think he will step aside another time.
That's right. I was going to ask you.
It would be smart if he did. He'd be collecting a bunch of checks.
Yeah.
It could be. Brett, what do you think about Jai Patai? If the fight could be made, do we want to see it next?
Oh, absolutely, mate. We do. You know what? Like he did obviously in that fight, he got buzzed. He come on square at the end of that second round, and his legs went stiff. And so, you know, us that analyze everything. I'm not talking about the mainstream fans. I'm talking about us that analyze things. Apatai has come up for a bit of like criticism, like, you know, if it was a late replacement and he got stung and da. I think he's pretty special, Jai. I really do. And I think that what he did was he got emotionally invested. He got emotionally invested in this fight, and he went for a tear up. And look, at the end of the day, so the saying, obviously, you know, you get wet if you go swimming. Like, he went swimming and he got wet. He come on to one at the end of the second round. He rode it out, and then his knockout was absolutely brutal. But if he wanted to do a different tactics, he won't come in with those tactics. If he gets the Ramirez fight, he will not come in with those tactics. He can't because not a chance he'll come in with that.
Big up Eric who's in the chat. Yeah, he has a brilliant performance. Big up Eric in the chat. He said 50-50 for me. The way Zurdo took apart Chris Billum-Smith is just nothing short of boxing joy, destruction, watching it. He's going to present a massive problem to Opataya. And for me, at cruiserweight, that's probably on the same levels, just for, you know, two outstanding boxers in a division as Patabev and Bivol. Yeah. It's that kind of, you know, defining fight. It's a shame it wouldn't be for an undisputed fight, but we must move on because time's running short. Come to you next, Brett. Saturday, February the 1st, the PBC card.
Yep. David
Benavidez is headlining against David Morrell from Cuba.
Yep.
Great fight.
Great fight, and as we were talking off air, they put together a fantastic card. But the main fight is going to be something special because I'm a huge fan of Benavidez. I think he's got a bit of everything. He can get you at range on the end of a jab. He can set traps for you. He can have a little bit of a tear up if he needs to. For me, it's all about, you know, when he's looked sloppy, as I think he hasn't taken his training camps right. Morrell's got under his skin. He wants to make a statement here. And the thing is with Morrell, he only knows one way to fight, and that is to absolutely sit on your chest and try and hit you with combinations from every different angle. It's going to be an absolute fan-friendly fight, this one. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Morrell hurts him. But at the same time, and the bookies can't really split him too much either, but I would be leaning towards a points decision for Benavidez.
Håkan.
Yeah, I like that fight as much as Brett, and I'm really looking forward to it. But it's a very good card on February 1st too. The undercard is very good, so I'm looking forward to that card. And I feel that Benavidez might stop Morrell late, but it will be a very competitive fight, and it could go to points too.
But your initial feeling is going to be a stoppage for David Benavidez.
Yeah, it is.
Championship round sort of thing scenario.
Yeah, yes.
Remy, what do you think of Morrell's chances of going into this fight with the monster, David Benavidez?
One, I just want to, touch on the fact that I love that this fight is made and it's happening in general, because it should inspire guys who are in the thick of their prime to fight, regardless of this, that, and the other, just to get the ball rolling in your division. If you guys are the ones that everybody want to see fight. But I think that it's a really, really interesting matchup, because for as much experience as Morrell lacks, he is an extremely athletic fighter, and I think David hasn't fought anyone of his caliber in regards to he's from the Cuban school of boxing. He's a huge kid. He's really fast for his size and extremely athletic for his size. I do think that a lot of his punch patterns are repetitive. I do think he does a lot of repetitive things. So I think David's main job is going to be to capitalize off Morrell's mistakes without getting hit too hard in the midst of it, because I think Morrell's going to be throwing some leather. I think it's very possible if David is being too defensive, he can get caught with some really clean shots. But what I saw in the Vosdick fight, David was going from offense to defense in ways I hadn't seen him do. That makes me feel like once he is adjusted to Morrell's speed and timing, it could get ugly out of nowhere. I think early Morrell will look good and have everybody like, oh, like this is going to be one of those fights. Then all of a sudden David's going to start turning on. But then I think Morrell, while everybody think Morrell might hurt him early, I think Morrell might hurt him in the middle rounds when David starts to slow down. He's going to go for his last gusto, because David's going to start picking him apart and clearly showing that he's the better boxer and has more experience. And then David's going to finish out the fight. I think he wins by decision.
Decision. Brett, I come to you about if this goes to the trenches in 10, round 10, who's going to come out battle weary? Who's going to come out the victor if it has to go to an all-out brawl?
I mean, look, as I said to you, watching Morrell fight, that's a really, really, really good point from Remy, that his combinations can become repetitive. But if you notice, Remy, a lot of the times they tuck up. So it's almost like he's throwing the same, it's almost like he's hitting the heavy bag. Do you know what I mean? He's going bop, 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 and just throwing those combinations. And so he will brawl. But Benavidez is a dog as well. Like he can fight, he can graft. And so if it goes to an all-out war and trenches, I suppose you would probably say that Benavidez with his class might be able to just land better shots. If it's an out-and-out brawl, he might be able to land those better shots. You lot are kind of turning me, because now I'm almost thinking, I did say points, but I'm almost thinking a late stoppage now as we're talking it through, just because I think what you're saying there, Mr. Neutral, is spot on. If it goes to the later rounds, at round 10, it might kick off again and it might go on, and then somebody might get really hurt.
I just felt that the Gvozdyk win was harder fought than the hot rod win of David Morrell. It wasn't I think he really had to work hard against Gvozdyk, and he showed that grit, and the way he went to the trenches with Gvozdyk in the later rounds really served him well. For me, better going into this fight, and I do believe it will be myself, in my opinion, be a David Benavidez championship round stoppage, maybe a referee stoppage, overcome to many, many punches. Now, on that undercard, who for you is the next best fight?
Are you coming to me?
Yes, please, Brett.
Yeah. So obviously, what? Didn't sometimes it catches. We go from, I know we had Jai in the week, but you come out of Christmas, we're all depressed at the weekend because there's no fights to watch.
Yeah.
And then when you start looking into it, it's Figueroa against Fulton. Like what a treat that is.
Yeah.
What a treat that is. I mean,
that's the one.
Yeah, I agree, Remy. Like what a fight that is. And once again, because no one, it's seen last time that Figueroa got robbed, or but think about that for a fight. There's bad blood in terms of one thought they got robbed, and then obviously Fulton's been in there with the beast, and he was taken out quite convincingly. Figueroa's only loss is to Fulton, so I cannot wait for this fight. the last time they fought, it was like they were smashing the hell out of each other's bodies. And I actually think that this time around we might see a different fight. But it's going to be difficult to split them. But if I am to go one way, I think Figueroa avenges his loss, and it will go all the way. It will go all the way. It will either be a UD or a split decision.
Thank you, Brett. Remy, what do you say on this fight? Stephen Fulton rematch, the settler against one. Could not be a settlement. It would be a trilogy between these two gentlemen. But what's your thoughts on how Stephen Fulton's going to play out this fight?
I like Stephen Fulton a lot. The work he did at 22 was that was a really great run. I feel like he probably has one of the better resumes in boxing as an underrated fighter for what he has accomplished specifically. But what I saw in that Castro fight leads me to believe that Brandon had a lot of things he could have took from that fight to go into a rematch. I felt like Cool Boy kind of deployed all his weapons against Figueroa to dog that fight out. I felt like he edged it by the smallest of margins. So if you felt like Figueroa won that fight, I had no problem with it. I just don't believe fights like that can be called robberies, because it was such a good fight, and you're seeing two different styles actually working against each other. It's like, immovable force, type thing. So I believe that first fight was so great, but I don't believe this one's going to go like that. I don't think this one is going to be as close. I think Figueroa looks better at the weight than Fulton. I think that Fulton might have gotten a bit of an advantage of Figueroa having issues making the weight, for me, in hindsight. Like, I think maybe Figueroa was having issues making that weight, and that little bit that was taken out of him gave Fulton enough to stay in there with him, where I feel like at 26 it might be a completely different story. He was getting hurt by Castro, and I just feel like, I don't know, 26 might be a bit too deep to fight someone as big as Figueroa, and I think Figueroa avenges the loss, and he might stop Cool Boy.
Good point. Hakan, how do you see this fight going?
I see it like Remy too, that this weight could be too much for Fulton. And Fulton had more than a year between the Inoue loss and the Castro fight. So he has just fought once in maybe 16 to 18 months. So it could also be that he hasn't been that active, who could be a factor in this fight.
Activity will certainly be a factor, but he had that fight against Castro on the Canelo Berlanga card there back in March. It was, and he was down in the round 5, if I remember right. That's probably why he was so hard done by in the scoring, I would imagine, Figueroa. But in that next fight with Castro, Stephen Fulton, Figueroa knocked Castro out, if I'm not correct. And he's had 2 more fights at featherweight, which for me has set him in good stead at that weight, and the power is certainly there for him with the 2 out of 3 TKOs. And don't forget the unanimous decision over Mark Magsayo, who just butted him to death in that fight, has gone on to super feather and lightweight and been successful. So for me, I think Brandon Figueroa has got everything going right for him. As far as boxing caveats are concerned, let's say, it's going to favour him. But can he get that stoppage? I think it's possible. And I think it's going to be, like you gentlemen said, it's going to be I think we're all agreed overall, it's going to be a Brandon Figueroa win. But thanks, gentlemen. That is going to be the end of our show tonight. We were supposed to have Evans Tobler. Obviously, the man's a busy man. We'll catch him another time. But I want to thank you all individually. Brett, thank you for coming. The Boxing Man, tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, just on X, and it's the Boxing Man _ and I just love talking boxing. So anybody's interested, crack on.
Thank you very much. Håkan from Sweden, give them your handle, mate. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, they could find me on X and Facebook and Instagram too. I'm active, so I have a lot of fighters on Facebook that follow me. It's who's not on X so much, so it's a more or less all platforms.
Thank you very much. And Remy, reunited. We are indeed. Thank you so much for coming on Remy's Corner Talks. Tell the good people across the pond where they can find you, mate.
We're like peaches and herb, neutral. But
we are.
Yeah, so at WSB Remy on all platforms. I appreciate y'all having me on. Neutral, you know, we always have great conversations. Nice to meet you, Brett and Håkan, man. Y'all are great guys. I appreciate y'all sharing y'all knowledge with me today, too. Make sure we stay in tune. I know I follow you guys, too, so make sure you guys keep in tune with me.
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. Once again, thank you so much, gentlemen. This program was sponsored by Falcon Contracting Limited and our good friend Jams Boxing Challenge. And again, thank you to all my guests tonight for giving me your time on HardTalk USA. And we'll see you soon. Have it.